Howdy do, kids, and welcome to NXT 8. Oh, that's not what this show.
Yep, that's not our show.
I was so ready, Nate.
You were like on fire, and then you just totally screwed up.
I haven't said aloha in a while. That means hello. Also means goodbye, Nate. Little known fact.
It does.
It's not out there. That's a secret, but that's the truth. Aloha, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PWT Talks NXT. I'm your host. I'm Kelly Wells, and at no extra cost to you, I'm standing while doing the show this week because so I got through the head issues, that come up when you have generalized depression. Past that, then I got sick, then I got better, then I fell down the stairs and broke my tailbone. That is why I'm standing, because I've barely sat in the last week because I have a broken ass, Nate. It's not ideal, but I am standing. I'm also in my brother's house, so the background's going to look a little bit different. But yeah, that's what I got. We got an episode of NXT that I thought was pretty okay. Continue to love the way that this show is structured. Not throwing too many matches at us, not throwing too many segments at us, but letting the important stuff feel important, giving it a little more time. Just really digging what this show is right now. Let's talk main event. The women, again, Stephanie Vaquer, very much the centerpiece of this show. She gets the main event segment, whether it be a match or not, quite a bit. More than Obafemi. And but on the other hand, who are Obafemi's legitimate challengers? I think that could be part of it too. But Stephanie definitely getting that main event push. So there you go. Vaquer and Jordan Grace versus Fallon Henley and JC Jane. Jasmine Nix was not mentioned, but I couldn't find any proof that she was gone. So I don't know what's going on there. They got to get a little cute with some of these segments because Tatum Paxley mentioned that she'd lost everything, that everybody had left, but she didn't mention who those everybody's were. Because you can't mention Shotzi or Gigi Dolan anymore. Still weird about Gigi, but whatever. So Vaquer and Grace, of course, victorious. Grace, of course, is the one who's victorious because she's the challenger. And she pins JC Jane, of course, because losing is what JC Jane do. So yeah, that one got, I don't know how much time because I forgot to write it on my paper, but you know what? It got time. That is what I'm going to say until I pull it up on something else. But
I think it was
Grace
12:44
and Vaquer, sure.
Yep,
Grace and Vaquer,
12:44.
victorious. Yeah, we got another chance to see Stephanie in street clothes. Good stuff. Just great stuff. Booker out there hyperventilating, telling everybody else to calm down. Yeah, so that's your main event. And I think this could be your main event of Battleground. But they've got options because you could make it Femi and Bourne if you want. I don't think they will. But I think there's a pretty good chance it could be Trick and Joe Hendry. So they have not said anything to that effect. But right now I'm leaning Trick and Joe. But I guess we'll see what happens. Stephanie's definitely the centerpiece of the TV show. So our tag team match, which apparently went 12:44, unless I was lying.
Actually, I was lying. It was 10:54. I brought up last week's report by accident.
Oh, this guy over here. 10:54. Okay. There you go. Got to keep this show honest. So main event, Nate.
No, main event. So were you just kind of talking about Battleground? I'm in terms of like what might main event Battleground. I don't know if I'd see Hendry and Trick. I'd love to see Hendry and Trick main event. Don't get me wrong, but I just can't see WWE putting a TNA title on in the main event when they have the NXT title and the women's title on like on that show as well. It could happen, but I don't know. It just seems like a move they wouldn't do.
Well, Vince would never.
Vince wouldn't. I know.
Vince would,
And,
even if he
and
ever agreed to do this. We're in a brave new
we're in a
world, but that is a pretty salient point there.
yeah. I mean, I know like if it was me anyway, like I don't know. I just wouldn't want to necessarily put over a title that's not our own title. If I was in that position, or at least put it over to that extent. But I could actually. I was just going to say what Ryan said in the chat. Ryan Slario says I could see Ova and Miles open the show. I think they're going to open the show. I think Trick and Hendry are probably going to be right in the middle of the show, and then we'll see Stephanie and Jordan end the show there.
Yeah, D'Angelo and Stacks in that death spot. I know they don't call that anymore, and that's not necessarily the way they always do it. But I think D'Angelo and Stacks go on second to last.
Yeah, exactly.
Either second or fourth out of 5, assuming there are 5 matches.
Yep. But in terms of this main event here tonight, I liked it. It didn't. I don't know. For some reason, it didn't feel like a main event for me, and I think it was because Fatal Influence was in it. I love Fallon Henley. Don't get me wrong, but JC Jane she doesn't feel like she belongs in the main event anymore. When she was part of Toxic Attraction, sure, but not so much anymore. That said, though, I mean, I felt like this was a match that really was to showcase Jordan Grace once again and make her look like the powerhouse that she is. And also, the same thing for Stephanie. To kind of showcase her as champion and whatnot. So I certainly liked it. I kind of like towards the end or at the end of the match, Jordan handing Stephanie her title and kind of doing that respectful, like, here you go, here's your belt. But then you could also see her like side-eyeing the title, like she knew, or like kind of tell you that she's coming after it. I don't know. I can't wait for the match. And what really kind of sucks is I don't want to see either woman lose. I don't want to see Stephanie lose, but I also don't want to see Jordan lose. So obviously I can't have it both ways unless there's a no DQ or a weird sorry, not a no DQ, but some sort of screwy finish or whatever. But yeah, I'd love to see Jordan with the title around her waist. I don't think it's quite time for that yet. Stephanie's reign is still pretty new, and they're pretty invested in her. So I would assume we're going to see her hold the title a little bit longer. And she's going to probably overcome Jordan, she being Stephanie. But yeah, like I said, solid main event tonight. As Ryan said in chat, I did not see JC being the last woman standing from Toxic Attraction, and frankly, neither did I. I thought it was going to be. I thought Gigi Dolan was going to be kind of a bit of a standout from that, and
no doubt.
Here we are.
I still think she's the best of the 3 all around. Mandy would talk, and you'd swear that English was her second language or third or fourth. Just so bad. And JC in the ring hit a hard cap like 2 years ago that she has never gone beyond. And I felt like Gigi just this last few weeks even was really soaring, but I don't know. I with JC, if they need a fall person, then whatever. She's fine. She's not like none of them are dynamos, but I feel like they were greater together than they ever were apart. And they really could have had the chance to move up together, but Mandy wanted to get rich quick, and sure, do it, and if it lasts, it lasts. If not, maybe some doors are still open. I don't know. I don't think Mandy will ever wrestle again, but whatever. Okay, so let's talk crossover. Let's talk about Miles Bourne because I sure do want to. He opened the show. Miles, of course, partially deaf, and we were talking about last week how maybe we didn't know if they'd ever explicitly said this, and I don't think they had. I think they just, if you knew, you knew, and if you didn't, you knew something was going on, and you could maybe get it from context clues because we know that wrestling fans are great with those. So anyway, they opened the show. Bourne did some really confident mic work, and he was out there with no quarter catch crew, and I thought it was kind of amusing that Ethan Page came out there and Charlie Dempsey messed with him. He kind of returned the favor from last week, which I guess Miles did have coming because Miles forced Charlie into a match this week with Obafemi, which was the opener. I guess we'll just kind of talk about these as one because they kind of go together. A non-title match, Obafemi versus Charlie Dempsey, was your opener, and then your crossover match was Bourne versus Page, with Dempsey convincing Miles Bourne that he should put his number one contendership on the line against Ethan Page. So in the opener, Obafemi versus Charlie Dempsey got the vast majority of the televised. Well, it was all televised, but I don't count the commercials because I'm not paying attention. Dempsey got most of that offense. Now it was technical offense on a guy you knew wasn't going to go down to that stuff. But I thought they did a match here that they could both really be proud of. 8.5 minutes exactly. Femi defeats Dempsey, obviously. Dempsey in control for a lot of it, but it was all for naught as Femi got super strong and powered up at the end and took down Dempsey. So 8.5 minutes there, and then in your crossover match, Miles Bourne successfully defends his number one contendership against Ethan Page in 11:06. He did it with a weird move. Was it just? It was like some transitional move that finished off Ethan Page, and I can't think of what it was.
I don't remember what the move was. I know it was a roll. Like he had him in a roll.
Like he pinned him with an O'Connor roll or something.
Yeah.
Like that after. Yeah, it was something very basic, and I just thought, "Oh, I don't know."
You wrote down that he hit him with the drop kick and then an O'Connor roll.
Yeah, drop kick and O'Connor roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember what the move was before the O'Connor roll, but I remember the O'Connor roll.
Yeah, I wrote drop kick, so I assume it was one.
I'm going to trust past Kelly.
Okay. Yes, I am.
So there we go.
Past Kelly's got his issues, but this is very recent Past Kelly. So
yes, recent Past Kelly.
No quarter catch crew, all the heck over this thing. So on the first and third matches, Nate.
So I've got to say, I absolutely loved the way they opened the show tonight. So, as you said, Miles Bourne, obviously he's deaf. They never really, or partially deaf. They never really said that. I think this is the first time they've actually come out and said that on TV. They've hinted to it. They've done some really funny things at live shows, like Miles Bourne. When I went to NXT Lowell and back in December, Miles Bourne was lying. I was front row. Miles Bourne's literally lying in front of me on the ground after getting attacked, and Vic Joseph is leaving after the show, and Vic is just screaming at Miles to get up, and he's like, why can't you hear me? It was hilarious. But they've never actually come out and said that he's deaf. So having him come out tonight saying he has a disability and then framing him as somebody that wants to be the champion of people that may not be, that may have a disability themselves, or may not, have confidence in themselves or whatnot. I forget exactly how he worded it.
He worded it beautifully, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. He said that people with disabilities want to be judged on their abilities, not on their disability.
Exactly. And I really, really liked the way that he said that, and just the way that they're framing him in that way. I think, there's a lot of people out there that could use somebody like that to kind of look up to. So I don't know. I really like that story, especially just, I don't know. You read the news, you listen to the news right now. Everything's just so drab, and you need some feel good And this was a really feel good way to start the show. As a matter of fact, I was talking with Jobin a little bit about it, as over Discord as it was starting, and same thing. If Jobin's like shed a tear even over that, and it was like, all right, love it, love it. I don't think I would be, or sorry, let me rephrase that. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, that if I would I be rooting for Miles Bourne to beat over Obafemi, no, I don't think I'd say that. And I don't know if I'm still necessarily rooting for him to beat Obafemi because I love Obafemi. But man, I'm kind of behind Miles Bourne right now. I feel like this trajectory that he's on is kind of organic, and I'm really curious to see how this plays out next week. Next week's a go home show. So next week going into Battleground, if they can kind of hold on to that momentum, I was going to be really upset if Ethan Page actually beat him and took over that number one contender spot. But before we get there, Obafemi versus Charlie Dempsey. Like you said a bit ago, Obafemi went over 8 minutes and 30 seconds. I enjoyed this match, but as you said, Dempsey got a lot more offense in here than I expected. I feel like with Obafemi, it's like he's just going to go out there and be super dominant. It's almost weird to see him take bumps. And I know he's gotta, like, obviously, you can't just never leave your feet, but I felt like he left his feet a little bit too much in this. But maybe that's nitpicky. I don't know. It was still a good match, and Charlie Dempsey's a hell of a wrestler, so I guess it might be somewhat believable. And it could also be that could also be, now I'm thinking of it, like maybe a kind of a story that they're going to tell next week too. With Dempsey able to get that much offense in, maybe Miles Bourne like studies it so he gets some more in or something. I don't know, but that was really my only nitpick about the match is I felt like Dempsey got a little bit too much in. Otherwise, though, I think it was a fantastic match. I don't really have much more to say about that. Then the crossover, Bourne and Page, 11 minutes and 6 seconds. Same deal here. I saw it in the chat. There we go. Ryan Slaria said, Miles, when he wrestles, keeps reminding me of a young Orton. I don't know if I was thinking it in the moment. I can kind of see it, in both look and maybe in the way he moves in the ring. But I don't know. I watching him tonight, it felt to me like he was more confident than normal. He just felt like, I guess, a little bit more on fire than normal, and maybe it was because he was in a higher position. He wasn't wrestling in usually he's in tag team match. This is singles match for him. So usually we're seeing him tagging in and out, but I was really behind him here, and not just because he's going against Ethan Page. I'm really curious to see how this match is going to play out at Battleground. I don't think he's going to win, but I can see him getting to a point where he's like, you think he's going to win. And right at the last second, Obafemi, sneaks out the victory. And I think this is going to propel Miles Bourne up the card a little bit. And I'm here for it. Yeah, he's a great wrestler, and I think to have somebody with a disability at the top of the card, I'm all for that, 1000% for that. So yeah, let's go.
Yeah, if this was the main roster, I think we would say with literally zero hesitation, Femi's winning this, and Bourne's victory comes in the form of losing a really competitive match. But because it's NXT, there's always that tiny bit of doubt, like, well, it could be that they think they have something worth moving Femi to the main roster for, because we don't know when that'll happen, and I don't think that's going to happen now. But this is such an unconventional match that you have to just consider that they didn't come this far just to stop short of it. So I don't know. I will be watching with, honestly, there's more doubt here for me than there was when Ridge Holland had got a title shot against Trick Williams when I was at Deadline, because I thought that was just like, well, this is what Trick is for, what Ridge is for. He's going to lose this match, but with Bourne being such an out there pick for this match, it just seems like maybe that's what they're doing with him. But at any rate, I think that the match will be a joy. So looking forward to that, and hoping that they really, really justify the choice, because I want to see Miles get there. And the Orton things, I mean, he's really, it's obvious that Miles Bourne grew up a fan. Like, he didn't start doing that scoop slam out of nowhere. I mean, that's that's intent right there. This guy definitely emulated the guy. But keeping him in your mind and then just moving slightly away from it, because Randy's still there. It's easy to go in there and do Eddie's Three Amigos, because Eddie's not going to show up and do Three Amigos on the same show. But
if he does, I'd be really.
I mean,
surprised.
that would be the pop of a lifetime.
Yes,
from coming from a guy who was at the show, the Super Show, that was supposed to be potentially an Eddie win for the championship, but it ended up being, because that happened in Minneapolis. I was at the show.
Okay, yeah.
I went to the what turned out to be the tribute show to Eddie, which I bring up every now and then, and it was. All I can say is that it's not what you go to a wrestling show to see. Being there was better than not being there, but what a weird.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's got to be a strange. That's gonna be a strange environment. Yeah.
Yeah, to go to a wrestling show and like be crying with
And it's
thousands of
almost
other people.
Yeah, it's almost a funeral or a memorial at that point.
Yeah, they brought everybody out, and everybody's everybody in the on the roster is just bawling on the ramp, and it was just, it was.
Yeah. Well,
hopefully not something I have to see again anytime soon. That was the last time somebody died while on the main roster, until Bray Wyatt. That was last two times it happened. Okay, well, now that everybody's really depressed, I mean, I guess
yes. Let's bring this back to tonight. So I've got this up on the screen here. If you're watching on YouTube, Goodfella in the chat says, in NXT, I feel like I follow their journey, and to me, Miles doesn't seem ready in his ride. And no, he doesn't, and that's exactly why I like this. In NXT, and one of the reasons that I love NXT and I love doing this show is for that journey, is where we watch these wrestlers come from their little fledgling, these little fledgling gimmicks. Becky Lynch coming out and Irish step dancing, and Liv Morgan coming out as a jobber, and now here they are like these major stars. And obviously men too. I use two women as an example, but men too. Miles Bourne doesn't feel like he's had that journey to get to the NXT title just yet. But that's kind of why I like it. It's taking a bit of a break from the norm, and it's taking somebody that has fans behind him already. Maybe not to a point of like Joe Hendry or a Trick Williams or somebody like that, but people like Miles Bourne. They like No Quarter Catch Crew. So kind of take somebody like that and then just kind of see what they can do and put them in the main event. I'm all for it. I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying do it all the time or whatever, but I think the way that they're going about this is interesting enough where you can take somebody that is in the mid card and then just put them up in the NXT title scene. It for me, it's working. It's working big time. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
In the chat, CJ LaChapelle reminds me that in between Eddie and Bray was Chris
Oh,
Benoit. Of course it was. I don't
yeah.
know how I overlooked that. I was even thinking of Benoit being on the ramp, crying,
Yeah.
like bawling his eyes out during Eddie, just an hour and a half, a year and a half, 2 years before that stuff happened. But yeah, I that is true. It was the first time since Benoit. Okay, so let's go to Tony D'Angelo versus Wesley. Wesley seemingly has a name for his new group with Tyreek and Tyson. I believe he called them the High Rise,
High
and
Rise.
I think that is the name for all three of them. And not
That
just
was on their Tron as well.
oh, it was okay.
Yep.
This
High
was
Rise with a Y, as I noticed you didn't spell it right in your report.
oh no. Stupid Y's where I's should be.
Yep.
Oh, for God's sake. That is such a
RYSE.
that is such a WWE move. Okay. Wesley over Tony D'Angelo. This was the exact match you knew it would be, given all the stuff going on. Lee's group has to be legitimized, and Tony D is distracted by all the stuff going on with Stax, who, by the way, seemingly has lost his name. He doesn't seem to be chanting Stax Lorenzo anymore. He seems to just be Stax, because even when they were promoting they never said Channing Lorenzo today, and they on the screen they just showed Stax when they were promoting the match at Battleground. It was just plain Stax. So good for him. 2 dimes sure seems like a long time ago, doesn't he? Wesley over Tony D'Angelo in 10-14. And Stax baited Tony D by saying that he knew where the Rizzo safe house was. And so there's a snitch apparently, but we don't know anything about that. Could be Luca. Ryan Solorio said Wesley screamed out Channing Stax Lorenzo. And it could be that they didn't tell Wes that they're rebranding yet. But there you go.
Ryan also said that High Rise feels like a WWE 2K My Rise name, and yes, it does actually.
Grody. Yeah, so Wesley wins this match, and then later Tony D. Apparently, the safe house is really, really close to where they have all their matches. Not a great idea to have the safe house within like spitting distance of the place where you are all the time if there's a mafioso trying to kill you.
I mean, I might send her to a different state or something, but
this was like 1 minute. He was just right there. He was there so fast. So anyway, Rizzo possibly still alive. Luca probably dead. 2 dimes almost certainly dead.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Luca.
Yeah,
in that scene. Yeah,
Luca,
we never got a. Yeah, Luca might be dead. We don't know.
Yeah, a star on Evolve, dead on NXT. So there you go. Wesley over Tony D'Angelo, 10-14.
So I gotta admit, I think Tony D'Angelo stepped his game up in this match. We talk a lot about his wrestling being, just kind of mediocre, like good, but not like incredible or anything like that. And I feel like tonight
his spear was awfully timed, but everything else I actually felt the same. So
I will completely agree with you on that.
There was a point where Lee tried to do a crossbody and he was too low, and Tony D, like a total pro, caught him low and kept him safe. Yeah.
Yep, that was actually exactly the spot I was just going to talk about, and then like picked him up and just tossed him. I don't know. I really thought he looked like he was somebody that just lost everything and he's fighting for his life at this point. I really wanted to at least give credit where credit's due there, because I think he really stepped his game up here tonight in the match. I think he and Wesley have some great chemistry together anyway. Any time that the two of them have been in the ring together has always been pretty good. Obviously the the story of the match really, or story here isn't necessarily the match. The match was good, definitely good. But the story is all kind of surrounding the Rizzo house and all of that. I'm I don't know. I'm here for it because like I'm after so long of watching the D'Angelo family, and I mean I'm kind of invested at this point. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious to see how this all winds up playing out because I remember just a few months ago talking about how it feels like the D'Angelo family, or sorry, Tony D'Angelo finally had his big family. He's got, he had Luca, he had Adriana, he had, Stacks, but then he'd always have these other guys, these big dudes just kind of standing behind him in these, different scenes back, whether it's in the restaurant or backstage or what have you. And now all of a sudden it's like he's lost everything. Where does he go from there? And if where does he go from there is the main roster, for instance, where does he go from there? I don't see the dawn of NXT being this massive thing on the main roster unless you were to bring the whole mafia with you. And even then, I don't see it being anything more than a mid-card act. Especially when your stables on the main roster are the Bloodline, Judgment Day. It's yeah. I don't know. I like it, but I'm really, I don't want to say I'm worried for Tony D'Angelo, but I'm I don't know. I maybe a little bit worried for him once he gets up to main roster there.
I see no real roadmap for him without a major change to what he's supposed to be. And we've talked about that before.
Oh yeah, that's nothing new.
For multiple years. He's been there a long time. He was one of the guys there when they threw the fresh coat of paint on this show, and that was a longer time ago than people think.
I know.
It was a long time ago.
I know.
So yeah, he's just a guy.
I can't believe NXT 2.0 was like 3-4 years ago now. Like, it blows my mind.
4 or 5. Yeah, I mean, when that started, we still had Kyle O'Reilly on it, Von Wagner. I mean,
oh my God, yeah.
Guys that you don't think. Tony D was feuding with guys. I mean, he feuded with guys that have been on the main roster for a long time. Yeah, I mean, you got Legato, and they're not winning, but they're still figured in. They still get TV time every week. Not Legato, the Santos and Angel Umberto. Okay, so Carmen and Thea, they had a scene early on, and then they saw Tatum Paxley throwing stuff and turning heel because she's sad. And she's sad because Gigi Dolan is gone, but she couldn't say Gigi's name. She just said everybody betrays her, which is if Gigi wasn't annoyed enough about being let go, I just thought of her seeing the scene and being like, really? That's how you write me out. But there you go. Tatum heel again, singles again, and she lost by disqualification in 4 minutes 13 seconds by going to the eyes against Thea Hale. Something that has not caused too many. That's great. One of my nephew's toys playing loudly in the background.
It is.
But Thea Hale winning this by disqualification, and Tatum doing whatever it is she is doing. But Thea firmly not a member of my brother just putting away one toy and it making all this noise. No longer a member of Chase U, out there doing her thing, and because that's going to go for a while, I'm going to stop trying to talk over it and let you go.
Yeah, no, sorry, somebody messaged me just as you were passing over me. So I think I like what they're doing with Tatum Paxley. Now, I feel like with the direction her character's been going, if something just all of a sudden got ripped away from her like that, she's gonna throw a temper tantrum. We've kind of seen her have these temper tantrums in the past, nothing to this extent. But she just lost two of her friends. Shotzi's gone, Gigi's gone. And sorry, my people keep talking on Discord, and it's driving me insane. The Discord bloop is just going in my ear right now. Anyway, yeah. So I like I said, I think the direction they're going with Tatum Paxley makes sense. I don't know if I'm gonna give it a little bit, because I feel like tonight might have just been that guttural first reaction of losing her friends, not having them on the show anymore. But I don't know. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping it's not going to be necessarily this over the top going forward. I do like the fact that she kind of went so crazy as to like try to gouge the eyes out. What is it with this company and trying to gouge eyes out? I don't know. It's been a few years. It's been a few years now. But still, I don't know.
Bring it up, Nate. Don't stop talking about it.
Okay, yeah, I'll stop talking about it now.
Not Ray's finest hour.
No. Well, and also Aleister Black, but the thing I like though is at least Aleister Black's kept it going with the even as Malachi Black with the extra contact lens anyway. But yeah, I think it works. I think it works. Thea Hale, she's a, I don't want to say she's a similar character, but she can be just as energetic and over the top, just kind of in a different way, in a more positive way. So this could be a weird kind of clash. I could kind of see both of them almost kind of hitting peak Tatum and peak Thea and kind of clashing with one another. It'd be really interesting to see. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna give it another couple weeks and see where I fall with Tatum before I give it a final verdict.
Okay, there was a lot of stuff backstage this week. We got another progressive scene for OTM. We got hype for OTM, and then later on, Ava said that Chase U finally. That being Uriah Connors and Cale Dixon are going to have a tag team match, and they will be facing a returning OTM. And then, of course, Andre Chase yelled and swore because that's what he do. That's part of the act. So they will get to show up finally next week and lose because OTM. I think OTM is almost a lock to be the next tag team champions. And I think it's going to be soon. I think this thing with Hank and Tank is going to be relatively short. And I think that this is the way to get the championships off of Nathan Fraser and Axiom, get them to the main roster, have a bit of a feel good, and then move it to somebody who is a higher priority like OTM. Really thought that this was good hype for them, and they really are positioning these guys as major stars. I don't know that I need to roll that in with anything else, but OTM and Chase U apparently next week.
Yeah, I mean, I like OTM. I hadn't really thought about them as the next tag team champions. Granted, I haven't put a whole lot of thought into who'd be the next tag team champions after Hank and Tank. And I apologize. I think I'm in the middle of an asthma attack, so if it sounds like I'm out of breath, I am. But yeah, I don't know. From what we've seen out of OTM, I go back and forth on them. I feel like sometimes they're green and they need a little bit more work, and then I'm like, no, they've worked on themselves, and I like what we see. Now, granted, we haven't seen them on TV in quite some time. At least in a match, in any sort of physical capacity. I don't know. I think it could work. Them going up against Hank and Tank. Because I really can't see Hank and Tank being long-term tag team champions. It really seems transitional to me. It did when they won it. It seemed like it was a nice, like, feel good type of a thing, but and that's even debatable because I don't know if they were the ones that would have chose to beat Fraxium, but whatever. So yeah, I definitely think they're going to come in and squash Chase U next week. But that's kind of Chase U's role. They're always they've kind of always been in that role, or at least the old Chase U anyway, would kind of be in that role anyway. So yeah, I don't know if I have any more to really say on that.
I guess we can take that to Briggs. Josh Briggs, still sad. Still looking sad that his partner left last week, that being Yoshiki Inamura. Hank and Tank trying to cheer him up, and then Sean Spears coming and stirring the pot and saying that Briggs is a cancer because he has done this twice with tag team partners now and pushed them away or whatnot. So we've got that. We've also got the scenes with Javon Evans and Ashante the Adonis, leading to Ricky Saint saying, "Hey, I want to see that." And on the other side of this, we can see who it should be the top contender. Apparently, Ricky Saints. No time for Ricky Saints on the pay-per-view, but we got time for Tony D versus Stax. Sorry, that's just not a PLE worthy match. Whatever. So it will actually be a triple threat next week that I'll have to do. Don't have to do any triple threats for the Battleground show, but they weren't gonna skimp on me. They gave me a triple threat anyway. Yeah, they got what is it going to be? Evans, Sean Legacy, and Ashante the Adonis. Now that's going to be good. It's going to be really good. Triple threat's not my thing, but this will be a good one, and it will be no fun to recap. It will be both those things. So, so anything on the Briggs Inamura? The fact that they're saying Inamura's name suggests to me that he's not done. But it could be that they're just putting him over a little bit more before he went home. I have not looked into this. I'm not somebody who looks into these spoilers. It's more fun to me to just see what's going on. But yeah, that and this triple threat.
So the triple threat, definitely looking forward to that. I think it kind of, especially the way that it came about, and all of that. I think it's going to be a good match. I mean, we saw, if you're not watching Evolve, we saw Sean Legacy for the on NXT TV in that Battle Royal. He was fantastic. And then obviously Ashante the Adonis and Javon Evans, great talents in their own right. So I think they're going to put on a hell of a match. The whole thing with Briggs, I think where they still brought up Inamura. I don't know if he'd necessarily be coming back, but I think that they can bring his name up because he wasn't a release. He was somebody working with a different he's working for a different company that was just in NXT right now, some sort of an agreement. So I think, they could kind of tell that story without, unlike like Shotzi and Gigi Dolan, they can't bring up her name or either one of their names because, they're no longer with the company. I think this is a bit of a different case, but that said, I could also see Inamura coming out to, defend Briggs, at some point, maybe Briggs goes up against Sean Spears and he gets to, winds up getting attacked by the culling. And, Inamura comes out, makes the save, and it's like, I thought you were gone. He's like, I couldn't leave you behind. I don't know. Something like that. I could certainly see that happening. I like the mind games that Sean Spears playing. I mean, I feel like it's, I guess, low-hanging fruit is a good way to put it. Because it's pretty easy for him to point out, hey, both of your tag team partners have kind of, turned on you, but it also does play into the fact that Sean Spears is in a stable now with his old tag team partner, so there is that that kind of makes it relevant. Yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. It's not really anything that's like there's so many other things on the show that are like much more important as far as I'm concerned, but yeah, I'm here for it. Was there anything? I think that was all you brought up right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to pull this one up. Goodfellow 1422 saying, Kelly, your insults of the chicken parm match does hurt, but you like what you like. Let's go, Tony D. And if you saw me chortling to myself earlier on, that is the comment that I was chuckling at. Yeah, I would never insult Stax, especially since now he's racking up the murders. You don't want to do that. But Tony D's just Tony D. He's just a guy. Whatever. So there you go. The chicken parm match. I will probably call it that in my recap if I remember it at that time. Okay, so Ricky Saints showed up, talked to Ethan Page once or twice. Yeah, and we all we kind of talked about Ricky already. So I'll cross that one off. Sean Legacy, I will cross that one off. Tyra May Steele and Xena Sterling showed up in a really awkward-ish scene where they were flanked by Undertaker and Bubba Ray Dudley, and then some of the women's sort of mid-card-ish and lower card showed up. Congrats, Nikita Lyons, for showing up for 10 seconds in a non-speaking role. Good stuff. While you toil away on Evolve, but we got that scene. Tyra May Steele and Xena Sterling. Goodfella did ask if anybody here is watching LFG. I'm not. I thought that I was really going to, but I'm watching Evolve, and in addition to all the other stuff I'm watching, it's just too much. So Tyra May Steele and Xena Sterling, hope they're cool. But in the background of that scene, in the middle of the back of the scene, we did have Callie Armstrong. Now she is awesome, and I'm waiting for her to get to NXT. She's one of the centerpieces of Evolve. She might be pushed as their first women's champion. She's definitely on the short list. She's winning against everyone, but she might just be too good for Evolve before long. I'm really, really digging her. Ryan Solorio says, I thought Nikita had one line, LOL. She might have. She might have said something really quick. She's on Evolve now, and she's, her matches are hot garbage. So Jada, she was in a scene with Kalani Jordan and Zaruka. Kalani going to run it back against Zarya next week. And then, you know what? I guess we didn't really talk about the contract signing, which was pre-taped. Pre-taped is the way to go when Ava has to do important stuff, but whatever, it was okay. I was very amused that Trick Williams signed the thing Trick Willie. It's great that he saved all that time writing 3 less letters that he had to, but he said Trick Willie, and then Joe was just Joe H with the big line afterwards. And as somebody,
I had to.
So as somebody who likes cards and sees a lot of really crummy autographs, people say, hey, it's this generation. It's not that simple. It's the fact is when you sign to a major sports league now, part of your contract is that you have to sign thousands and thousands of rookie cards. So why wouldn't you just half-ass it or quarter-ass it or not ass it at all? So a lot of them are just lines. But there you go. But Trick and Joe, I'm semi-interested. Battleground, there's not one single match. The thing I want to see most is Miles Bourne. I want to see what that is, what they do in that environment. I don't love Jordan Grace so much that I'm super excited about that, but I love Stephanie Vaquer with my whole heart. So there is that. Yeah, it's Ryan Slorio says, but doesn't a legally binding contract have to be your full name? LOL. Yes, or at least an attempt at it. And if it's Joe's unreadable one comes off as better than Trick Williams saying Trick Willie, but whatever. I'm not dying on that hill. I don't think it's a big deal. I just thought it was a mild amusement. So
Yes.
Anyway, I can't talk about Trick without saying he shouldn't be a heel. Like, he's doing well, but he shouldn't be doing it.
I know.
There you go. Goodfellow says Jordan versus Stephanie will cook. Chicken parm match. Trick versus Average Joe. Fun card. Yeah, it's fun outside of the chicken parm match, which is Evolve level at best. So that is what Battleground will be. I don't think. Oh, Trick is going to rap next week.
And Hendry's going to have a concert next week.
Oh.
So we've got a musical NXT next week.
All right. I can, sure. I guess I missed the thing about Joe doing a thing, but
I don't know how you did, because they said it about 10 seconds before.
In the same, you know what? I was probably so taken aback by hearing the rap thing, and I was like, do I throw this back to when Swerve did a really cool set of bars, and then Vince was like, I have no idea what to do with this superstar, and then he let him go like an idiot. Sorry, I love Swerve. I love him so much. But yes, they did this thing, and we'll see what kind of bars Trick has. We'll see. And, Joe will go out and he'll do the exact same song with different lyrics. That's what he does. That's fine. So I think that's that. Is that our show?
I think that's the show.
Did we get an email from our board or anything?
I didn't check
like
emails. Yeah, we should probably do that. Let me do that.
Yep, we did get one. Salutations, gents. I hope this email finds you well. I thought tonight was a strong episode. It was a little odd to watch post recent releases, especially for Tatum, but all in all, tonight felt smooth. I definitely popped to see the LFG women in the backstage area, and I hope they do well in the season finale. If you have been watching LFG, what do you think of the 4 finalists? I haven't, so I can't tell you. But now I know who the women are. Lastly, I saw a social media post earlier today decrying Julia's rapid ascension to the main roster as a warning sign for her, as they didn't allow her to get more seasoning in NXT. What is your take on that? She doesn't need it.
She didn't even need to go to NXT in the first place, but
no,
they brought her there.
She did because
she's got to work. Production is WWE. Different. She's got to learn the WWE style and the production and all of that.
Production. Yeah. So,
but I mean, in terms of being a wrestler and knowing her craft and all of that, no. I mean, she could have probably bypassed NXT and been fine, but I think it was a good stop for her. But I don't think it's a warning thing for her at all. I think if nothing else, it tells us that they're invested in her. Yes. They're taking her out of NXT super quick, bring her up to the main roster. That's a good sign, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. All she needed to do, and I said that when she showed up, I said she's there to learn production, and
yes, you did.
And hard cam and everything like that, and that's all she's there for. So won the championship. I was actually surprised. It doesn't seem like that long ago that I was at Deadline, because I went to Deadline with Wade Keller and a couple other people. But that show, that was when she won the chance to battle for the championship, because she won the Iron Survivor Challenge in the main event, and that doesn't seem like a long time ago, but that was one title reign ago, one jump to the main roster ago, one heel turn ago. She's changed a lot. But anyway, That came from our from very close friend of the podcast, Professor Kevin Picatani, PhD, who I'm sure we will talk to before long. Yeah, I think that
I think
that's
brings
our
us to
show.
our show, yeah.
Because that was the email. I am Kelly Wells. You can find me on Blue Sky at other Kelly Wells. Nate, who are you?
Nate Lindberg. Check things I do out at natelindberg.com.
Cheers, and we will see you in 7.